this couldn't happen again.
It's dark. I gotta do something about that lighting. Alright, this is just my garage. Nothing to write home about, so that's really it. I kind of chose this location because it is more of like, not a private video, but I don't really want any distractions for this video because if you saw last month's video, you know. ¿Qué pasa?
¿Qué tú haces ahí, Rodrigo?
¿Qué yo hago aquí, compadre? Estaba grabando.
Ah, espérate.
My dad entered the garage. You probably heard me talking, but it's just whatever. Anyways, if you saw last month's video, you know that at the end of the book section, I kind of talked about wanting to read the Bible for the next video. And yeah, I also said I doubted that I would be able to, you know, not only complete the Bible, but the other books I talked about. And I was correct. This is the only book I read this month. I really took my time with it. I finished it like 2 days ago. It took me like 27 days to read, because there are some days where I didn't read it. There was days where I read little by little, just 25, 50 pages. There was days where I read 100 pages. 125 pages, and yeah, it took me a while to read, and I think this is the only book I'm gonna read this month, and next month I'll read like 6 books or something. I don't know. This is a very delicate book. Yeah, I recommend. People say it takes a year to read this book. The way I did it was not the, well, reading the Bible is always correct, but I'd say that the correct way of reading it is to take your year with it, study it. But I sort of just read it front to back to know the story of the Bible, the entire story. I remember I showed my dad the video and he said, make sure to include that when you read the book in that 1 month. He also said he didn't dare make a video saying that he'd read the entire Bible in 1 month, but I mean, that's just, I'm a lunatic. But anyway, he said make sure that people know it's not the traditional form. You shouldn't read the Bible in 1 month. You shouldn't, you know, just, because I'll admit it, a lot of portions probably went over my head because I simply was reading to read the story and not to study every excerpt. I wasn't just sitting there for every verse being like, you know, I was just reading, getting the story, and there was bits and pieces of, I understood a lot of it. But regardless, let's just get into the first and only book of the video.
Church girl that go to church and read your Bible.
Alright, so I'm going to describe this book in 2 ways. Clearly, I'm a Christian. I believe that this book is a book of history, and that it's simply the truth. But I'm going to speak of it in 2 sort of styles. I'm going to speak of it from a straight narrative perspective, as if it was a piece of fiction, which is not what I believe. And then I'm going to speak about it as if it was true, a historical fact. So those are the 2 styles. Because the reason I'm saying fiction is because I'm going to be talking about it in the way of saying that characters, plot, how it happens. Because the truth is, art and literature is not possible without real life experiences. So every fiction has at least a hint of realism in it. So when I say fiction, you know, don't take it like I'm insulting your belief. It's my belief too, bro. It's my belief too. So yeah, let's just start. So of course we have the first book of the Bible, which is Genesis, the creation of the world. Also, I'm going to spoil the Bible, and you can't be mad about it because it's a historical text. I love that I don't even have to put a spoiler warning, you know, because it's like, bro, it happened for real. You can't be mad at me. So we have Genesis, the creation of the world. Now, we have the Torah, actually. Let me just talk about the first 5 books of Moses. So Genesis goes over the creation of Adam and Eve, their expulsion from the Garden of Eden, Cain killing his brother Abel, and then the flooding of the earth with Noah, because all humankind was they were destroying themselves. They were full of sin. And then we have Abraham and his sons, you know, being the first with the circumcision and, you know, starting the covenant with God. After the separation of the world, like after he separated them in different tribes and made them all know different languages because they tried to make a tower to reach him. Many people say that that's the most unbelievable part of the Bible, and I understand it if you come from it from a very skeptical position. But anyway, that's just what happens. The expulsion of the world, then Abraham is tested to kill his son. Bro's like, yo, I know you roll deep for me, don't kill your son, low-key, just please don't kill him. And then that's pretty much it for Genesis. Then comes Exodus, which introduces Moses, which is, it's funny how this is one book and it's probably gonna be the longest book review. Anyway, then comes Moses, and I'm just gonna summarize the next 4 books quickly. He struggles. Those last 4 books of the Torah after Genesis is just basically, I can describe it by saying Moses suffered. Moses was tasked with ruling over and guiding the most ignorant people I have ever read. The people in this time period, bro went up to get the commandments and they were preaching, they were worshiping a golden calf. Like, bro, I'd break the tablets too over someone's head. So basically those last 4 books of the Torah is just Moses. Then comes Joshua, Judges, Ruth, Samuel, but I'm just gonna skip those books and I'm gonna get to David, because David is my favorite character of the Bible after Jesus. After Jesus, guys. David is probably one of my favorite stories besides Daniel and, well, Jesus. Because David was a descendant of Abraham, and he was one of the promised kings. At the time, they said a Messiah will come, he will be the one to liberate all earth, and David was a potential candidate. Now, at the time, there was this king Saul, who was pretty good, but then David comes up one day and he kills one of the Nephilim, one of the giants, Goliath. You know the classic story, David versus Goliath. Saul has killed his thousands, but David has killed his tens of thousands. So basically, everyone starts being like, David should be the new king. Saul gets very angry. He gets filled with wrath and tries to kill David, and David forgives him. And for a while he was looking up to be the Messiah, the one who will liberate all of earth. But then he falls in love with a woman and sends her husband to the front lines to kill him, and yeah, commits adultery. So off with his head. Not literally. He doesn't get decapitated. Not like John. God dang it, John. They decapitated John, bro. Anyway, that's enough spoilers for the New Testament. So then that's what happens with Saul. And then, if I'm being real, from pages 700 to like 800, it's Psalms and just a bunch of books stuck together. And I'm just giving the very big highlights of the Old Testament, such as Isaiah being the most is prophetical a word? No, it's like the book with the most prophecy inlaid. It has the most prophecy embedded to its story. I'm pretty sure Isaiah is the one where he literally said a Messiah would come, like predicting Jesus. I just realized I passed over one of my mom's favorite books of the Bible, which is Job, the man who was tested. Satan basically said to God, hey, yeah, he's cool with you and all, but get rid of everything and he will soon call curses upon your name and he will no longer be a servant of the Lord. So God just kills his whole family and kind of ruins him. I'm pretty sure he gets like blisters all over his skin, just completely ruins the man. And he keeps praying and he keeps being strong with the Lord. His friends come over and they're like, they try and support him, and he eventually conquers everything that happened to him and continues being a servant of God. And of course he's rewarded. And that's just a really good story because it's like the perseverance of man, even when it's what we should be doing now. Like every time we just get a headache, we start blaming God nowadays. It's like, bro, come on now. This man got everything taken away from him and he is still praising the Lord. Let's come on now. Then there's the Song of Solomon, which is like 4 pages. We have Jeremiah. Jeremiah's pretty good. We have Daniel. Okay, Daniel is the man who was locked in with the lions, and when I was a kid, that was my favorite story of the Bible. I hadn't read the Bible, but I had heard multiple stories of it. And Daniel was just a story that always stuck out to me because he got locked into the lion's den and survived simply because God said so. And that really showed that was a good book. And then there's Obadiah, Jonah, Micah. The good one. This is the good Micah. Don't worry. This is not Red Dead Redemption 2 Micah. Anyway, I don't know if I should be making jokes during this video. I know it's a serious video, but I want to lighten the mood. I don't really want this to be. I'm trying to crack up the mood because it's the Old Testament, you know, very brutal times. And I think I'm gonna stop talking about the Old Testament. The Old Testament is my parents' favorite portion of the book. Like this book can be broken into 3 parts. I can count this as 3 books. Technically it's 66. I'm gonna count it as 3. I'm gonna count it as the Torah, which is the first 5 books, Genesis all the way over to Deuteronomy. I think I'm saying it right. And then there's the rest of the Old Testament. That counts. I'll count that as the second book. And then there's the New Testament. So my parents like the Old Testament, but honestly, I love the New Testament. The New Testament was my favorite book. It's the one that I most remember, and mainly because I read it like 3 days ago, and also because I just find the story of Jesus more appealing. I don't know. So let's start with Matthew. Matthew was, I was gonna say that. I started watching The Chosen. I'm currently on season 2. And that kind of, I started watching it when I was still in the Old Testament. So it got me really hyped up for the New Testament. So I have to say that. I was also really hyped to read the New Testament. So the first 3 books of the New Testament are Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And Matthew, Mark, and Luke are basically the same story from different perspectives. They show the apostles' journey with Jesus, all the way from when he was born, when he was a kid, and then when he started ruling them, and then when he got crucified. And every single one of them, it shows the same story, but sometimes, like for example, I think it's Mark, shows a kid Jesus debating with like scholars of the time, and just Pharisees and all that. While meanwhile Matthew just doesn't show that, and Luke maybe shows. I could be completely wrong. I'm not looking at it right now, but I remember that some had some stories, some had other, because it's from different testimonies. Then there's John. John is the favorite apostle and also the only one who didn't get brutally murdered, bro. John just writes about, let me check John, because John is a good book. So John is the one where the story of Jesus turning water to wine is shown. He did it at a marriage because his mother Mary told him to, because they were gonna look really bad if they didn't get that wine to the people, and it was the best wine ever. That's the first miracle. Then there comes Jesus revealing himself to the world, healing blind people, getting people like rid of their leprosy. Then comes the Act of the Apostles, which is basically what the apostles did after Jesus died. And then there's Romans, Corinthians, and basically everything from like Romans all the way to, I'd say, Hebrews is basically Paul's letters to certain churches, just talking to them. So those, you can read them yourself. It's, Timothy 1 and 2 is him writing to Timothy. And then there's James. James is, I forgot James. I can't believe I forgot James, holy crap. Okay, let's just skip on to Peter then. Peter, also known as Simon. Simon got his changed name to Peter. Peter is the brother of Andrew, and he is the one who basically denied Jesus 3 times. He was like, no, I don't believe him. I believe him. No, I don't believe him. I believe him. No, I don't believe him. Still though, very quick to wrath, but yet he's my favorite apostle. I'll say that. Then there comes more from John. 3 more books of John on top of the other one. Then comes Jude, and then comes Revelation, which for a while was my favorite book of the Bible. By the way, if you're wondering, my favorite books of the Bible, let me think. My absolute favorite one has to be, I have to say that it's probably Matthew, Exodus, and Revelation. Those are my top 3 books of the Bible. Regardless, then comes Revelation, where John is at, I forget the name of the island he was on, so give me a second. Then there's John at Patmos, writing down the revelation he got from God, basically being like, hey yo, write this down. It's the ending of the world. The refrigerator is running, I'm sorry. Yeah, so basically that's what Revelations is. God was like, hey, yo, John, since you're the last one left, you need to see the ending of the world. So he just showed him everything. He wrote it, sent it out to the churches, and died peacefully. The other 12, however, didn't get that same luck. Now, while they don't tell you about how the apostles died in the Bible, it's historically known. The most famous ones are, for example, Peter, who was going to be crucified just like Jesus, but asked to be crucified upside down to not, because he thought he wasn't worthy of being executed the same way as his Lord and Savior. Then there's Matthew, who was burned alive. I know there was one who was skinned alive. I forget who it was. Then there's Andrew, who got crucified on an X. Then there's Judas, who after betraying Jesus for 30 silver coins, hung himself and had his intestines fall out from inside of him. Then there's, oh yeah, that's the thing too. Many people say it's 12 apostles. It's technically 13 because after Judas died and Jesus died, they found a replacement for Judas, which was, what was his name? I can't believe I just forgot his name. Anyway, they bring on a new apostle, and he probably also dies violently. They all die violently, except John at Patmos, I think. Then, of course, there's Jesus, who got crucified, and probably endured one of the worst deaths ever recorded in history. I'd say that's probably, yeah, it's definitely up there. If you go on YouTube and just look up the Passion of the Christ, that's literally nothing compared to what actually happened. There's more detailed analysis of what he was going through there. He was literally suffering from a condition. Listen to this, guys. Jesus was the word excruciating came from Jesus, because his death, like excruciating, came from crucifixion. The word excruciating came from Jesus's death, or at least the act of being crucified. That's where that word, that's its origins. Jesus suffered so much that he suffered from a condition where he was sweating blood. Like, can you imagine being like his rib cage was exposed, his arms were dislocated. When he was dying on the cross, he was actually asphyxiating, because he had to, every time he pulled himself up, he was like scratching his back, his exposed back on the wood. And since he had to breathe, he had to go up, and he was just constantly getting his flesh torn off by the wood that was very splintery. And while all this was happening, probably suffering the worst death ever, he was still forgiving his, tormentors and forgiving people, like the penitent thief, which is the one that was beside him. He said, "You will join me today in paradise." And of course, what he said onto the Roman guards, well, to God about the Roman guards, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." And I'd say it's probably like, there's a more touching story in history. I don't know what it is, because that's, it takes a lot of strength to literally ask for your enemies forgiveness while they're actively like killing you, bro. That's like, and mocking you. They literally put King of the Jews on top of his, it's just so bad. Mary, his mother, and John were there at his feet while he was being crucified, and it's just like, then of course there's the resurrection, where he came back after 3 days. He respawned, this time in creative, and basically went to everyone and was like, "Yeah, I'm alive. Here, look, I'm eating a fish. I'm alive." And everyone was just like, it's actually kind of humorous, because I remember so many memes on the internet, like, imagine being one of the Roman guards, bro. Can you imagine that? There's actually two instances where you'd be crapping yourself. One would be the second he dies and it starts raining. The earth literally starts crumbling above you. Your homie goes up to poke him with a spear to make sure he's dead. Just so much water starts pouring on him, you'd be petrified. Then it's the second time where you're just the guard standing outside of the tomb, and all of a sudden your homie comes up like, "Hey, yo, he's not there no more." He's not there no more. I'd be petrified, honestly. Yeah, so I mean, I actually found myself laughing a lot of the time at some of the, not at the Bible, but just from imagining myself in the position of certain characters in the Bible, like Abraham's son. I couldn't imagine just going out, right, to do my, my sacrifice, my daily or weekly sacrifice with my father, and I'm like, "Hey, yo, where's the lamb at?" And my dad just says, "Oh, don't worry. God said the lamb will come." Just preparing the shank, just to stab you. Like, it's so funny. He was so down for God. He was literally gonna kill his son. I like it just made me laugh so much because it's like he had no hesitation in just lying to his son and being like, yeah, no, don't worry, God said the lamb would come to us. I just had such a good time reading this. It took me in total, I think, I ended on the 25th, but I was reading the Bible 2 days before the start of the month, so in total it took me 27 days. And yeah, it was a really, really good book. So now I'm going to get into my second description of the book. That was more of like a fictional standpoint. Now I'm going to take more of a historical standpoint. When Jesus died, the apostles, of course, kind of split up to go and preach the word all around the world. And I remember this very certain excerpt from Paul when he... Saul, when he crashed his horse and was practically blind and starving in the desert for 3 days, roaming around, trying to find his bearings. And I remember this one character went into one of the cities and was literally hesitant. He was like, my neck is out on the line. I could die doing this. And God came to him and was like, they're not going to touch you. Don't worry. And that was just the part that stuck out to me. And it just really puts things into perspective on how this history was passed on throughout the generations through multiple languages, translations, and it's just from a historical standpoint, because I believe in the Bible and I am a Christian, it's very touching to see the effort and the suffering that was, had to be, experienced for me to be able to pick up this special edition gold, just like a book that they would probably kill to have in that time. To just be able to order it on Amazon, have it here in 3 days, it just really puts things into perspective, because it's, even nowadays, in North Korea, you're caught with a Bible, your whole family's dead. That's horrible. I shouldn't really make fun of that, because it's a very tragic situation that even in some parts of the world today, there's not freedom of religion, and that my people, Christians, are executed just for their faith alone. And I'm sitting here reading the Bible in a month, enjoying it, while people, for just believing in this their whole lives, way more devoted than I am, have to suffer through it every day. And it just really puts things into perspective. And I'm grateful that I live in a place where I can have a book like this and have the pleasure of reading it whenever I want. And I'm going to read it again and again and again all throughout my life, because this is a book I'm going to revisit a lot. I'm not going to revisit it in its full length this year because I have more reading to do. So yeah, let's get on to the books I'm going to read next month. Alright, so here I have the books I'm planning on reading next month. The reason it's stacked weirdly is because it's in order of what I plan on reading, and just its order. So originally I wanted to read The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky this month. I wanted to read it this month, but there's probably not going to be enough time. I've read like 50 pages of this book, so that means I still have 950 pages left. So I'm going to probably leave this for next month. Or I'll probably read 200 more pages this month, 200, 300, 400 pages, and then kind of start off next month with this book half completed. So I'm going to read this. Right now I can't really tell you much about the book because I've read too little. So look forward to this book next month. Then I'm going to read one that I've been planning on reading for 4 months, because I bought this book and I said I'm putting it off. I have to read other books, but I feel... Oh, I forgot to put my glasses on. I feel like I've read enough classics to where I can kind of dedicate my time to some lesser books that are more for enjoyment. Because if I keep reading these classics, I'm going to kind of lose the passion I've had for reading those last couple of months, because it's gonna feel very forced. And I love Stephen King and I want to read his books, so I'm gonna read Salem's Lot. Salem's Lot is a book that I didn't even know the plot about. I actually only realized that it was a vampire story once I looked at a trailer or a review or something. I don't remember which I saw first, but I didn't even know that this was a vampire story, so I can't wait to read this. This is definitely being read next month. Then I'm going to read Carrie. I'm going to try and read Stephen King, at least one of his novels, every month from now to the end of the year, because I have a lot. I need to show you this, actually. I'm going to show this right now. I'm going to cut. I go to Goodwill. I find a lot of good books there for relatively low prices, like $1 for paperbacks, $3 for hardcovers. Guys, I found the holy grail of Stephen King books. Roll the footage. Okay, so this is the day after, but shh, I'm lazy. I actually found something so cool today. It's Saturday, by the way. Boom! I found another It by Stephen King. It's like a 1990s version of It. This is clearly from the Tim Curry movie. It's paperback. And this will probably be the version I'm actually gonna read. So yeah, this is really cool that I found this today before making the video. This is, wow, what a golden find. Yeah, so I guess you could say I'm very fortunate. Funnily enough, this find came to me like a couple of days after I started reading the Bible. Coincidence? Probably, but I'd like to believe it's not. Anyway, the next book after Carrie, no more Stephen King for the month. Next month I'll read one book. I'm gonna keep it at one book. The reason I'm reading two is because I've been feeling the itch, man. Next book on the list is Niccolo Machiavelli's The Prince. Very short book. I don't know what it's about. Can't wait to read it. Then these next two books, bro. I've been itching to read these two books because I absolutely love the movie, the new movie, and it's Dune. This is actually a book I found in a Goodwill. While I already had Dune, it just feels nice having this other version that I can just, you know, kind of mistreat. I'm not gonna mistreat it, but I mean, like, I can open it and not feel bad about breaking the spine on accident, you know, so I'm gonna read this one and keep the other version kind of in pristine order. But I've been dying to read Dune. It's I read just the first page of this book the day I bought it, and I was so enthralled with the book that I let it go because I was still reading the Bible, and I was like, next month. Now, after Dune, I have Dune Messiah. This is basically the movies with Timothée Chalamet. Both movies are just this book. If they make a third movie, it would be about this book. This is much shorter, and it's basically just, I don't know. I don't know. And then the last book for next month is gonna be, drumroll please, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I'm really excited to read this book too. I might not read it next month. I don't know. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I technically don't have to read it next month. I could do this for after April, but I just wanna. I wanna read it, guys. Come on, it's Marcus Aurelius. It's. Let me just read what's on the back of this book so that you can be enthralled into reading it too. Someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake in any thought or action. I shall gladly change. I seek the truth, which never harmed anyone. The harm is to persist in one's own self-deception and ignorance. And this comes from Meditations 6:21. It's right there in the back. I don't know if you could see that too well. I bought this book and it arrived, I don't know, recently. I originally wanted to read Blood Meridian and The Road by Cormac McCarthy, but I think I'm gonna have to save that for after April as well, because this is too many books. Maybe if I finish all this, which I doubt, next month, and there's still time, I'll probably read The Road, because I've really wanted to get into Cormac McCarthy, because I love No Country for Old Men. That movie is really good. I plan on reading the book someday, and I have Blood Meridian now, which came with Meditations, and I have The Road, which I found at Goodwill for $1. Can you believe it? Yeah, I know, me neither. So maybe if I read this and there's still enough time in the month, I'll probably read Cormac McCarthy, but if there's not, hey, there's nothing I can do about it. I'll save it for the month after April. And that's it for the book portion. Yeah. You're probably disappointed that I only read one book, but I'm still in time. I'm still technically ahead of the curve. So let's go on to the kind of life update portion of the video. Alright, wow, the lighting is horrible here. Where can I go? So apparently someone decided to start cutting their lawn today. Also, my camera's about to die. Holy crap. On the weight loss, I'm gonna make this quick. I'm at 293. You might be saying, bro, you gained weight. No, the other scale was broken, and apparently it got rid of 10 pounds that just weren't there. So I was originally at 331, not 321. So technically this month I lost 10 pounds too. So that's all I'm going to talk about. Yeah, the scale was broken, now it's not, and I still lost 10 pounds. So far I've lost, what, 30, 40 pounds? Things are looking up. Things are looking up. Okay, I gotta do this quickly before the camera dies. For the YouTube updates, I plan on doing some videos without face cam. Today I released Minecraft Nostalgic Edition Part 2, and I want to play Overgrowth for the channel. And I'm soon gonna get my license this April, so I'm gonna make it my first ever vlog on my own for the first time in the world. Me driving, going to my favorite stores like Goodwill, Barnes & Noble, Guitar Center. So look forward to that somewhere in April. I don't know when. Okay, I'm gonna go edit this now. We gotta be quick here.